know what question I asked myself while I was watching it?
What's that?
What if they like I'm all for making more weight divisions, but specifically the mid heavyweight division
Like a
is
light heavyweight and then a mid heavyweight and then a
yeah,
heavyweight?
yeah, where it's like 220 to 240 or something like that. 245
I mean, it would make sense because I mean that's a
because
lot
then
of
there's
weight difference in there.
yeah, because
Because
I feel like there should be more weight divisions, and then that breaks up the whole we have to have interim champions, so there's always a champion at this time
mhm.
or whatever. If you had more divisions, more championships, and then people don't have to cut weight as much or whatever. But I was
Right.
just thinking of the mid. I was just like this one particularly. I was just like, what if there
Yeah.
was a mid heavyweight division?
Well,
Because
then
there's a
Oleinik
bunch
would
of
be
guys that
dominating.
yeah, it'd be like Oleinik and then maybe Gustafson and
Yeah.
John Jones most likely.
Yeah.
And like just some of the bigger light heavyweights and smaller heavyweights just meet in the middle.
Yeah. I mean, it would definitely help the weight issue we noticed in this fight because I mean, this has got to be one of the biggest gaps between one fighter and this fight. It's literally um, at the lowest weight you could possibly be. I mean, 225, but I mean, he literally was 227. Oleinik came in at, and then Derrick, of course, is all the way at the other end of the spectrum at 265. You know, the maximum weight you can
Exactly.
be, and that's 40 pounds. And with heavyweights, you may not think, you know, that much more weight is going to make all the difference, but
I mean, even when we were in wrestling, they were just like, yeah, you can't wrestle more than like 10 pounds or so.
yeah,
The
it
diff-
just kind of creates that issue of, well, now I have to be able to not only fight somebody who is already super powerful and super big, I have to fight him with with a 40-pound difference between the two of us. 38 pounds, 40 pounds, you know.
yeah. And
Um,
that's just how Olenek's always done it, too.
yeah. Um, I don't know what success he's had at light heavyweight, but I mean, he seems very comfortable at heavyweight. And he's had tons of success there as well. You know, this is not a major setback for him because he's always been on the cusp of the top 10 anyway. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's an interesting thought, you know, and it wouldn't, it's exactly like why, like when we have middleweight, you know, 180 to 185, that's a 5 pound difference. And yet you go up to
Yeah.
heavyweight and it's 40 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I've always thought the
And
same
just
thing.
and just the jump between light heavyweight and heavyweight is it's like 205 is the cutoff and then 265 is the cutoff.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there's a 60-pound difference in those two weight classes.
Yeah. It's, I guess maybe the idea is that the UFC has always favored heavyweights. They're, you know, like they're the oldest weight
The
class.
yeah, and light heavyweights because we've had John Jones and yeah, and Iceman.
Yeah. And I think it's always been, I think it started out with just middleweight, light heavyweight, and heavyweight. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure. Maybe with lightweight in there somewhere. Um,
Well, the very first UFC, there was just no weight classes,
well, yeah, yeah, yeah. But when they
but then
started
once they did
introducing
employ
weight
them,
classes, there was only like three or four.
yeah,
So it seems like they've always favored heavyweight, and they understand that when it comes to these bigger guys, and there's so many of them that they leave that gap open and they leave it so big so that they can give as many people as many opportunities as possible. Now, why it is that they do that with heavyweight versus all the other smaller weight classes is beyond me, because if we go back to just the preliminaries, uh you know uh uh Larino Staropoli missed weight by 3 pounds, and that's welterweight. um Came in 3 pounds over 170. I'm pretty sure there must have been another one somewhere on the card, but that's the one that I remember off the top of my head. And it's like you've got guys that are in lower weight classes missing weight all the time because the rules and the limitations are so strict for them. And yet for people like Oleinik, people like Lewis, they've got all this range to cope with. And I understand it's difficult for guys like Derrick Lewis. Derrick Lewis walks around with at least an extra 20 pounds over the limit.
He's going to be close to 300 when he's walking around.
Exactly. And I understand it's difficult for him to be able to even make the 265 limit.
That's why we need an ultra heavyweight class too, where it's just sumos.
Yeah, I mean that would be cool too, because I mean like that's an.
If you just had guys like Butterbean fighting another Butterbean.
Oh my god!
Can you imagine the hype?
That would be insane. But I mean, yeah, it's. I agree. It's true. I say to myself all the time, because I was, obviously there's I think there was only one female women's card on this entire event, and it was the bantamweight division. And I've always asked myself, why aren't there more weight divisions in the women's class as well, like higher weight divisions?
I thought about it as well.
Not every woman, because it goes up to bantamweight, and then it's bantamweight, strawweight, flyweight, feather and flyweight. It goes bantamweight, featherweight,
and then strawweight
at the very end. Or is that, or are we getting that mixed up? Is flyweight the one that's smaller than strawweight?
I think the strawweight is the smallest, because I think they only have strawweight and female.
Yeah. You're right. But yeah, it's why don't we have higher weight classes for the female division? Because there's not every female fighter is going to be 135 pounds or whatever the case. There's no lightweight for women's division.
Yeah, can you imagine the heavyweight women's division?
Yeah. Why not? We know there are heavyweight fighters out there in the world.
There is, because there's I saw one actually that was it might have been a kickboxing match though, but it was like two middleweight or something like that females that were just like both like 6 foot something.
Yeah. I'm pulling up just an old list right now.
But I think it's just one of those things where women's fighting hasn't been around that long in UFC history so far. Yeah. Eventually it'll open up more.
Yeah, I mean, women's MMA didn't become a thing in UFC until like 6 years ago. I mean,
just about, yeah.
I mean, women's MMA has always been around, a lot longer than it's been in the UFC. But in terms of
that's why I was just saying, in the UFC history, it's been a very short time that women have been allowed to fight. So I'm sure it's just one of those things where it's just taken a little bit.
So it's like, as soon as I would feel a lot better if, as soon as we get more women's weight divisions added, is probably when we'll start seeing a more regular other weight classes added, like a mid heavyweight or something like that. Because I think, there are those fighters out there. We want to give those fighters those same opportunities that these women are getting. And like I said, it's like, it'd be like if we had no weight division past welterweight,
Yeah, it would just not be the same.
Yeah. So I'm waiting on that. We're having to wait on mid heavyweight, and it's just got to make these weight classes, man.